Once again to the podcast previously known as Spacedock Jury, now known as Symbol. I'm here to talk about The Last Jedi. You're probably wondering, is there going to be a spoilers in this? Yes, there is. If you're wondering if there's going to be a non-spoiler section, no, there's not. Because if you're listening to this, you're kind of probably already interested in it. You've probably already seen it if you're interested in it. If you just wanted to know if you should see it or not, I can't tell you. You're grown men or women. Go see it yourself. Make up your own minds. That's what adults do. Go and make an informed decision and then come back and join in the conversation. So this is your last chance. As soon as I finish this, literally as soon as I finish this sentence, there's going to be spoilers. So off you trot. Go on. Run away. Go. You gone? Everyone gone? Yes, and you. Right. Cool. Okay, now everyone's fucked off. Yes, we're going to have some spoilers. And I'm joined by my very own Force Ghost, back from the dead, or the podcasting afterlife, Mr. Sean McGowan.
Hello, everybody.
Jedi Master Sean McGowan. How are you, sir?
Yes, I am good, and this is not going to go the way you think.
No, I promise you that. None whatsoever. He walked up to me, he gave me this lightsaber full of all this meaning and everything, and I took one look at it and threw it over my shoulder.
And I'm not actually here, by the way. I am actually projecting myself from far across the galaxy.
I don't think that's going to end well for you.
No, so I wanted to be responsible for dropping the first spoiler for anybody who didn't take you seriously.
Oh, on the Force Ghost
on not listening. Yes, I am totally, legitimately. Well, I'm a Force Ghost, but not a Force Ghost. I don't know. We have to discuss that.
Oh, I was going more the Yoda sort of thing. Oh my God, I just dropped that Yoda's in this thing. Wow. Gee, if you were still listening after all of that whole thing about spoilers, wow, that's because I've got to tell you that was a great little reveal. Did you see that?
I have to say, that was one of the highlights of the entire thing for me. Just if I could just say, like, 100%. I totally was not expecting that at all.
No, I mean when I wasn't expecting it at all. I did later find out that apparently it was spoilt on British TV.
Really?
Because fuck British TV. But I didn't expect it in the slightest. When it first appeared, I was like, "Ooh, that is some bad CG." But then after that, they used a puppet. Yeah, it was Puppet Yoda. It was like,
It was glorious. It was absolutely glorious.
And it was the court jester Yoda. It was the kind of slightly dementia-driven crazy person, not this kind of brooding general filled with failures and all this. No, it was cackling around hysterically while the world burns. I missed him.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. Again, you see more spoilers. You see. So let me ask you, Sean, just very briefly. On the whole, did you like it?
For those of you who've listened to me on the question or know me in any capacity in real life,
you do realize there could be people listening to this who were not born since you last did the question.
Well, that's very true. It has been that long since Melissa and I, we just fucked off to an island completely on the other side of the galaxy. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm going to tell you right now, I can never just give just an easy answer. There's always,
There's that whole thing called nuance. I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
But this is going out on the internet, and I'm going to steal this from one of my favourite podcasts, Weekly Planet, there is no nuance. It's either best movie ever or worst movie ever. So which is it?
There you go.
There's no nuance at all. Which is it?
I'm bringing nuance back, and I'm going to tell you right now.
You're bringing sexy back.
There are parts of this film that I love as much as anything else in the Star Wars universe. In some cases, even more. I think that there were a lot of brilliant ideas in this film that I absolutely loved seeing brought to life. I thought the character arcs were phenomenal, but I liked it more in pieces than on the whole. On the whole, I have some issues.
I would agree with that. There's definitely. I love how meta this film is. Wanting to get a bit pretentious there, but this film is ridiculously meta.
Yes.
Much so. I love it. It's. I think the only film which has come even close to being this meta in recent years is Deadpool.
Yeah.
Straight up. That's not even a joke. Legitimately, this film comes as close to breaking the fourth wall without doing so as anything I've ever seen, which was awesome.
I would definitely agree with that. And I have to say, one thing I want to drop right off the bat, it's because I'm going to tell you my absolute favorite thing in this film. And it's just because even if this film was a total flop and I despised it, which I don't, but even if it was, there's one moment in that film that I appreciated because it was such an obscure reference that only people who grew up in the 70s and watched the original Star Wars when it aired would truly get this reference. I'm just going to say this and hope that you know what I'm talking about. Iron. By your silence, I'm going to say you didn't catch the reference.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to, again, fall back on my favourite little one-offs, pointing out that in 1977 I wasn't even a glint in the milkman's eye.
Yes, but you are such a learned individual that sometimes you pick up on these things. But
evidently not in this one. Well, for those of us, because obviously I know what you're talking about, but some listening might not. So maybe you can help them here.
Okay, well, back in 1978 when Star Wars came out, there was a parody film it was shown on Saturday Night Live here in the States, and it was shown in various circles. And once YouTube came out, it flew around. So it did appear, for those who were younger, this thing called Hardware Wars, which was a total, it was just a goofy spoof. And if you've never heard of this thing, YouTube it right now. Hardware Wars. It's a total parody of the original Star Wars. Rian Johnson parodied. He actually made a reference to this in the film. That scene where you think there's a ship landing and then it turns out it's just ironing some hero uniforms.
Yeah.
That was a direct reference. And when I saw it, I thought of that immediately. In the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if that is a thing. I wonder if that's what he's doing. It has to be. And sure enough, I looked it up later and he absolutely was paying homage to that. So very obscure thing. I hope we didn't lose half the audience on this now just because they're all like, okay, wait, I want to really talk about Star Wars, not some obscure fan film.
Oh, I think we lost half of them when we said there was going to be spoilers, so yeah, fucks off.
Except for that one who stayed and didn't and is going to be angry now without reason.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's dude, learn some self-control, please, for God's sakes. I mean, I hands up here. No, didn't get that. But again, you got to understand over here, Saturday Night Live. We've never really gotten it. I don't mean we don't understand it. We just it's never really screened here. I mean, we only know things like Blues Brothers from the films, not from the Saturday Night Live sketches.
Well, this wasn't something from Saturday Night Live. It was something that became such a bit it's a film that got passed around so much that Saturday Night Live eventually took it and aired it, I believe. But it was from that time. It was something that. Just you know what, for you guys, whoever's listening, go look it up. You'll love it. It'll be a little bit of nostalgia, and you might even go, oh, I did see this at some point. It might click with you. Right. But anyway,
cool. So that was your favorite bit in the entire film, then, was it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
Because I was going to say that's a low bar there.
That was a moment though that just I appreciated. That was the moment that honestly made me feel that no matter how this film goes, because while I'm watching it, I'll be honest, I wasn't 100% sure how I felt about it. I did feel it's a little long. I kind of was editing it a little bit in my head. There were moments that, again, the moments that I loved as much as anything else in the franchise, and I absolutely. We'll talk more about this as we go forward. There are moments that I think were just brilliant choices that I'm very excited about. But it was just one of those. That thing was just one of those things that made me feel like, okay, this is totally being done with love. Because if this guy gets this obscure thing that was connected to the original Star Wars and the original Star Wars fan experience. He's totally doing this. He gained some credibility in my eyes for anything that I might not have liked from that point. He threw some rose-colored glasses on my face by doing that little touch. That's all I'm saying with that. I mean, it definitely wasn't, the highlight of the entire film, but it was something that spoke to me when I saw it.
I mean, for my money's worth, where it is, I definitely enjoyed this. I've now seen it twice.
Wow.
Not as a result of liking it and then deciding. I was double booked effectively, so I was kind of committed. One way or the other, I was seeing this bloody social obligations. You know how it is. But fortunately, because I enjoyed it, I was like, okay, that's fine. I can sit and watch it again. I enjoyed it more the second time than the first, partly because the first, I find this all the time now with these big marquee films that everyone's looking forward to and everything. You spend the entire film kind of nervous that it's going to be good.
I agree with that.
You're sitting there and you're taking it all in, but you're almost like you're going down a checklist, making sure, okay, no, that's fine. They've not done something there that's stupid. Okay, fine. Wasn't overly keen on that, but fine, I can get over that. The second time, though, I could sit back and kind of just more enjoy the character interactions, and I think that is definitely the strength of the film, is in the characters and their story. I mean, I'll say this now. I think this is the best performance Mark Hamill has given in a Star Wars film, and I will stand by that. I will fight that point. But he's sublime, and watching him on screen is a delight. Likewise with Carrie Fisher, the Superman bit notwithstanding, Carrie Fisher was fantastic, and I won't lie, that final scene between Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, I know it was a deliberate, with the dialogue choices made there to literally twist a fucking knife there.
Oh, yeah.
It got, a little lump in the throat there, a little bit dusty.
Oh yeah,
fair play.
Absolutely,
absolutely on that one.
Even more so than Rogue One. The Rogue One ending hit me hard, especially because of the timing as well. But this actually hit me even harder.
Well, I'll tell you this: we saw Rogue One, me and a group of guys, the day before it happened.
Oh really?
Yeah, we went to the premiere screening in the UK in London.
Oh okay.
So it was after that it all happened. So there's a bit of a disconnect for us there. I have other issues with Rogue One. We might get into later. We might not. We'll have to see. But still, I definitely felt the middle half, the middle act, whatever you want to call it, of a film, has definite pacing problems. But I love the opening. I love the opening bit. I loved the. I almost want to say this is a 4-act film and love the third act.
Okay.
And I would describe the third act pretty much from the. When they board the supremacy to try and take out the tractor beam until that light speed jump, which that right there was my favourite scene in the entire film. Again, listeners to the podcast formerly known as Spacedock Jury know I've got a bit of a thing about spaceships, and that whole sequence there was beautiful. It was just magnificent, and the sound design was amazing as well. The way the shot was composed, it goes to light speed, and the light speed effect in Star Wars is iconic. But then what happened afterwards is something we've never seen before. It tore through that ship in silence, and it tore through everything else in silence.
And what I loved about that, and I'm hoping I'm not alone in this. As a kid playing with my Star Wars toys, that is actually a move that I've thought of so many times. Like, what would happen if you decided to suicide mission kamikaze light speed into a ship? I've imagined that, and that they did it. I was very excited by that.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that, which was cool. Again, Mark Hamill for me. Again, look, Star Wars, the first Star Wars, A New Hope, whatever you want to call it. He's still quite a young actor in that, and he's very much outshone by Harrison Ford and Alec Guinness, Carrie Fisher, Peter Cushing. He's there. Empire, he starts coming into his own a lot more, but again, the performance between Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher is just so much better, in my opinion. It's not taking anything away from him, but he just doesn't have a chance to shine. I have a few issues with his character in Jedi. He goes a bit emo goth teen in there. Yeah. This is, and hell, it's a cameo at best in The Force Awakens. But this time he actually felt like he had, there was actual acting
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think I think maybe the years and a lot of the voice work and I think a lot of that may have seasoned him a bit.
Definitely, I definitely feel that as well. Just little touches as well, like when Ray's sitting there and he goes reach out and she just sticks her hand out and he does the whole thing with the leaf, and it's just little things like the eye rolls and little touches like that humanized him, but still at the same time he's got a lot of Yoda in him.
Yes,
in the way he teaches.
I was thinking that, and at the same time, he still did something that was his own, and that could have very easily become corny. And it wasn't, and I absolutely appreciated that. And getting back to the black outfit, the emo outfit from Jedi, as much as I did, I remember that as a kid being like, yeah, okay. But it's kind of funny though that he did a callback to that at the end of this film by coming out wearing the black. Like that's what I was thinking.
You know when he was walking out wearing that black the first time I saw this, I thought he had Darth Vader's lightsaber with him.
Really?
Again, I didn't realize he was projecting there. And I was like, well, they've just destroyed Anakin's lightsaber. And the nerd that I am, I knew it wasn't his lightsaber, his green one. So I'm like, oh, he's got Vader's lightsaber. He's going to beat Kylo Ren with Vader's lightsaber. Oh, my God. And then it was blue, and I was like, oh, wait, no, it's just, what's going on here? So I already knew something was up at that point. But still, it was the black outfit, the nice little callback there, which was cool. When he steps out from all the explosion, just gives a little shoulder.
That was I know that was wonderful. That was wonderful, and I'm so happy it ended the way it did, that he was projecting himself, because I will say, like, at the moment, I was like, all right, they're stretching it a bit. Like, how does he survive that? I know he's a powerful Jedi, but I went with it, and that going with it was rewarded, because that when you realize like what's going on, like at first, when he, slices him in half, I'm thinking, oh my God, he turned him into a Force ghost. And then when you see he's alive, but he's projected himself from across the galaxy, that's so much better. Like, it was just, I was so filled with delight at that moment.
It was quite touching in terms of, again, it's a kind of a cool little moment, and a whole kind of see you around kid. But then you see the toll it's taking on him, and then you have the twin sunsets. And you got that callback to the Tatooine
absolutely.
theme, and I totally get why people are annoyed that Luke has become one with the Force. Look, he's going to be back in 9. I'll almost guarantee you at this point. Yeah. It's not like we don't have a precedent for Force ghosts coming back in films.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt that was such a fitting way to do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, if nothing else, this film, far more so than The Force Awakens, felt like this was the passing of the torch. This feels like this was the film The Force Awakens should have been, in that we're passing the torch on now to the new generation, to the next generations, to carry this story, this saga forward, right down to the final scene with the little mop boy, using the Force to pull the broom towards him and stuff like that. This felt like, again, we know that Carrie Fisher. We know that Lucasfilm or Disney, whoever, have said they will not use CG to bring Carrie Fisher back in the next Star Wars film, which means they either have footage from this film they're going to repurpose, or she's going to be written out or something in between the two films. I don't know what they're going to do. We'll just have to wildly speculate. And I'm not going to say wait and see, because we're not going to wait and see. We're going to wildly speculate. But so basically at this point, Harrison Ford is gone. Mark Hamill has gone, Carrie Fisher. So this really is the torch has now been passed officially. It is entirely on the new characters to carry the saga forward, and I quite like that in this film. I do feel that should have come in The Force Awakens, but again, we'll get on to my problems with Force Awakens a little later. Oh yeah, we shall. So yeah, I mean, anything else in this kind of initial summing up that you wish to cover?
Well, it's funny, something you said earlier about this film being very meta. What you were just talking about now, about the passing the torch and like establishing that this is about the new characters and everything. I love how they directly spoke to that in the film when after that. By the way, probably the best scene in the film, as far as I'm concerned, is the whole Rey Kylo Snoke moment with the turn.
Oh, that is glorious.
And the twist, but the twist that was put on it, because I'm watching it and I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, but he can't turn. Like, I don't want him to turn. To me, you killed Han Solo, you're irredeemable. And beyond that, it's just an awkward place for you to make this turn, but he's making that turn to not be good, not be bad, but to be his own thing, and to invite her to be with him. And he essentially like says it like flat out. And there's probably gonna be people who hate this because they feel it's too ham-fisted. I didn't find it that way, but he essentially puts it out there. Forget everybody else. Let the rest die. Let the past die, and let's do something new. Like, to me, that was like speaking to everybody who was upset about The Force Awakens. It was upset about.
I think a lot of this, I don't know if it was okay. This was clearly deliberate because, again, this is a film. This is structured. This is made. There's a lot of this film is, I don't want to say putting two fingers up at The Force Awakens, but it's definitely saying, okay, JJ, you've set me up these pins, but you know what? I'm not playing bowling anymore. Now we're going to go do some tennis. And it just completely changed the game.
Yeah.
Because, again, I have huge issue with J.J. Abrams and his goddamn mystery boxes. I fucking hate the mystery box. I can't stand it. Pisses me off. So, the big, and I'm finger quoting here, I hope you can hear this, mysteries, who is Snoke? Who are Rey's parents? Again, what is Luke Skywalker going to say when he takes this lightsaber? They don't matter. He literally took these the things people have been, I don't want to say obsessing about, but have been asking and pondering and speculating for the last 2 years. In order, he takes the lightsaber. It doesn't say a word. He just throws it over his shoulder.
That was the best. Yeah,
that was
wonderful.
I mean, that in of itself should have told you right there and then what sort of film this was going to be.
Yeah.
So like that. Snoke, who has been built up as this big, bad, Emperor times 10. He's the supreme leader. Everyone cowers before him and everything like this. And how he's taken out even easier than the Emperor was.
Yeah,
which I thought was awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah. I mean, it was signposted with the dialogue of a whole. I can see his mind's open to me like a book. He's going to kill his enemy. I mean, you're playing the pronoun game at this point. Yeah. So we knew that was coming. But the way it happened, I thought it was going to be okay. Okay, he pulls the lightsaber towards him and they fight. And then, no. Lightsaber goes on. He's in half. And then there's a back-to-back fight against the Praetorian guards. That was amazing. And it was again, fair play to Snoke for not dismissing his guards when there's a known potential threat right in front of him. He'd learnt that lesson from the Emperor, at least. And again, the whole thing about Rey's parents. I mean, okay, JJ's doing the next film, so it might turn out they were someone. But I really like the idea that, no, her parents are nobodies. Because I'm kind of sick of the whole, there's only one family in the galaxy, that's the Skywalker family, and it's all about their fucking domestic shit. Yeah. It's like, no, they're just junkers. There is nothing special about you other than what you make for yourself. There's none of this destiny stuff. There's just you and what you choose to do. I like that.
Yeah, no, that's one of my, that was one of my favorite things, is seeing that, she's nobody. She's just an ordinary, well, not ordinary, she's Jedi, but her parents were nobody. I really hope that JJ keeps that.
I'm saying it's entirely possible that'll happen.
It is. I mean, I have to say too, I mean, I loved the whole decision, the way he killed Snoke and everything. I will admit there is part of me though that was a little, not bothered, but a little disappointed in that, only because it kind of gave me that, oh my God, I forget the character's name from the prequels, Darth Maul. It gave me that like Darth Maul feeling again, where it's like, oh, we've been built up, we've had this character built up, and now he's gone. I kind of had that like experience a little bit, like, now there's something missing. And I will also admit that I'm sad that the tension now between Kylo and Rex is kind of gone. Like, now he's clearly, Kylo is now more powerful than Rey. He's supreme leader now, and he's just tossing Rex aside. While it was fun to see that, it kind of, that to me, that was one of the interesting power dynamics, is the two of them trying to one up each other.
Oh, you mean Hux?
Hux, I'm sorry, Hux. I
Yes.
call them Rex. Yeah, Hux.
Yeah.
Between him and Hux.
Hux really did go caricature in this. I mean, it was
Yes.
funny, but
Oh, that opening scene that sold me right there on that I was going to enjoy myself, if nothing else.
oh yeah, that was a lot of
Interplay
fun.
between him and
Poe.
and Poe.
That was a lot of fun. Also, the bit when Kylo's lying on the ground, and he just casually opens his coat to reach for his blaster, and then Kylo wakes up and he just casually closes his coat. It's like he was going to shoot him, and then realize maybe not.
Yeah.
And then later on, we get our little Thor and Hulk moment from Avengers, where he gets smashed against the side of a shuttle.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, he is a caricature, but I mean, they're literally walking around in their grandfather's Nazi uniform. I mean, right down to, if you look on their sleeves, they've got black sleeves with white writing in Arabic, the Star Wars language, exactly the same as the Waffen SS uniforms had on theirs. So
Yeah.
he literally is a space Nazi. And he's a caricature of a space Nazi, because the last thing we need to do in today's world is to paint Nazis in a sympathetic light. And that will be our last political point on this particular talk.
Yes.
But that works for me. I'm down with that. He plays the character as a snivelling little toad.
Mm-hmm.
As he is.
So what we've said a lot of glowing things about it. What things did you not like, if anything?
It's a fair bit I didn't. Okay, I don't want to say don't like. Well, okay, I will say that. Things I have issue with, or aren't as glowing. The whole Canto Bite thing really felt wrong. Like it was almost a distraction.
Okay.
I think you could literally do without that bit.
Yeah.
And you lose nothing.
I feel you could have shaved like 30 to 45 minutes off this film.
You know, it's about a barn hour too long, yeah?
Yeah, that was my biggest criticism, that it went on too long. I felt that there was I felt like there was a temptation to put so much into this, so many stories, and there was very little restraint on that. I feel like you could have scaled it back a little bit, and it would have been stronger for it, because I think that the best parts of the story are clearly the dynamic between Luke and Rey and Kylo. Like, that's the core of the story.
No, I agree.
And I feel like kind of everything. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved Rose. She's one of my new favorite characters. I loved her arc.
Yep.
But we need to dedicate that much of the story to her?
The thing with Canto Bite for me is, I liked the message they're trying to get across there.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a galaxy, it's filled with the worst sort of people, and we're all expecting Mos Eisley. No, it's a high rollers casino, and these guys are all super, super rich because they're all arms dealers. And as was pointed out, they're selling to both sides.
And I love that with Benicio del Toro when he pulls up the whole look, they're selling to the Empire. Look, what's this? And they show the X-wing. Like, absolutely, I thought that was wonderfully done.
But you know what? You cut that entire sequence out. You don't lose anything from the film. It really doesn't add anything to it. You could literally have Finn and Rose jump out in the shuttle, go straight to Snoke's ship with another splicer they found, and again, the overall story, everything else, nothing is lost there, nothing is gained.
I
so
agree.
that whole sequence, I feel if you want to do that message, you either have to give it more or give it its own thing. I mean, and let's face it, there's no shortage of spin-off media, Rebels, the EU books, whatever you want to call it. There's other places you could tell that story.
Yeah.
This just seemed like it almost seemed like we interrupt this film for a little trip to a casino.
Yeah, and I will say also that casino is the new 50s diner of the Star Wars universe.
Well, I get what you're saying. It is in no way that bad.
It's definitely not that bad, but it made me uncomfortable. I was like, oh no, they're gonna go. Oh, because to me, it's like, the thing about that makes the 50s diner such an egregious error, as far as I'm concerned, is that the beauty thing about Star Wars is, yes, there are humanoids there, and it's comparable to our world in a sense, but it like that was just too familiar to our world. that casino was too familiar for me to our world. Like I've been in a number of casinos, Atlantic City, and it was like, oh my God, they might as well be down the Jersey Shore right now at a casino.
Yeah.
And that takes me out of it a little bit because I need, like Mos Eisley Cantina, yeah, that's a bar, but still, it's still rugged enough that it can fit, it can work. But yeah, anyway, that's just my thought on that.
No, I get that, but I definitely feel that we could have done without that. And again, maybe a bit more time with Luke and Ray. We only got 2 lessons. We were promised 3 lessons. We only had 2 as well. Where's my third lesson? Damn it! That's maybe coming in the next film. But
yeah, I was going to say we'll get the third in the next film.
Yeah, we'll get. I did quite like the lessons were very subversive in the whole. The Jedi, at the height of their powers, allowed Darth Sidious to destroy them, to create the Empire. A Jedi Master go, that is their hubris, and also things like, without the Jedi, there is still the light. Without the Sith, there's still the dark. It's hubris to think that you lose the Jedi, you don't have the light side. So I quite like that kind of deconstructing what the Jedi is and how important it is.
And it also, I love how it was able to reference the prequels without getting the stink of the prequels on the film, as far as I'm concerned. The way Luke bringing up the hubris of the Jedi and I just love that idea of, really this power should belong to no one. Like Luke really, he really went off and left society and completely changed his whole philosophy, and because of everything he'd experienced. And and I love the whole everything, like the way Kylo Ren was created, that it really is Luke's fault, but that you learn that it was kind of also a little bit of a misunderstanding. Luke didn't come at Kylo the way Kylo came at him. He did hesitate and he felt shame about it, but by then it was too late.
Well, that was very Kurosawa almost, wasn't it? It's seeing it from the multiple points of view. Yeah, it's very Rashomon, and I quite liked that. It's like we still don't necessarily know who's telling the truth, and in all honesty, the truth is probably somewhere in between the two. But again, I liked that ambiguity there, and again, it's nice seeing Luke as someone fallible, as a human, rather than the legend. And that was a nice touch, I thought. It was also nice when you had the interaction between him and Yoda as well. Yoda, they're still master and student, but at the same time, they're equals. They're Jedi Masters. I love Yoda saying, "Oh, I've missed you, Skywalker," and again, re-imparting the message that you're still not thinking in the here and now. You're still looking to the horizon.
It was the Tuesdays with Maury moment of the film. And I love that. I love how Yoda too, and he's Luke's like, I'm gonna blow this up, and Yoda's just like, all right, boom, there you go. It means nothing.
Oh yes, the sacred Jedi texts were in there. Oh, read them, have you?
Yeah,
I flicked through them. Yeah, page turners they are not.
Yes. And now we're done with the commenting on religion portion of the program.
Oh, incidentally, though, you know that the books didn't burn up in the fire.
Really?
They're on their Falcon. When Finn pulls out the blanket, they're in the drawer there. So
that's right. She stole them. That's certain. I forgot about that.
We don't know if she stole them or if Luke scored them away when he went on the Falcon.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah.
I quite like that moment as well when he went on board and was in the cockpit, getting the dice and meeting R2. At least R2 had something to do in this one, albeit briefly. He even a shorter cameo than Yoda in this. But
they did. No, good.
I loved playing the original message.
Yes, that was a very nice. Yeah.
And then just Luke would go, that was a low blow.
Yeah. But that was that, and that really shows like the care that went into this to make sure that it touched the nostalgia points but didn't rely on them. And I love the fact that you had the older characters like Luke and Leia obviously play a major role, but like the way that like R2 and C-3PO very easily can be just thrown in your face as they were in the prequels and in Force Awakens. And they were used just enough to remind you that they're there and that they're part of this universe, but not so much that they're just, gratuitous, and that there was nothing gratuitous I felt about this
I
film.
think 3PO was borderline gratuitous.
Mm,
He was on the border.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could argue that, but I don't know. I didn't feel he was as ever present as he might have been. I mean, you figure
he wasn't as bad as he was in The Force Awakens. I'll grant you that. Just kind of like, oh, I have a red arm now. You're probably asking why. Well, you have to read the spin-off comic. But at the same time, there's a couple of moments there which they just felt like Anthony Daniels just kept calling them until they said, okay, fine, we'll put you in it. It just felt a little laboured. Not too much, just a little.
I'm going to say something right now that's probably going to be the most controversial topic in this entire podcast, and anyone who's listening is clearly going to fall on.
That's a certain amount of hubris right there.
I'm going to predict that this is going to be the point that people are going to fall on one side or the other.
Okay.
And I am decidedly pro-Porg.
I have no problems with the Porgs whatsoever. I mean, if anything, the Porgs were what the Ewoks should have been.
Yes. And a matter of fact, I think the hatred towards the Porgs and anything that is in another, for lack of a better word, cute in the Star Wars universe they're so maligned because of the Ewoks. I think they're paying for the sins of the Ewok.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, they're unnecessary, arguably, but they didn't hurt the story. I thought the bit with Chewie trying to eat the Porg and
that was one of the highlights for me.
It's a nice little light moment, and it humanizes Chewie a little bit, which I quite like.
Yeah.
And again, when you have Rey walking through the ship, and they're kind of like tearing it apart or nesting in it, I'm fine with that. It's fine. It's look, they're there to sell toys to kids. Fine, whatever. Disney are going to do Disney. Lucas is going to do Lucas. Let's face it, this isn't a new thing. But if you have to have the quote cutesy thing in there, this was the least intrusive way to do it. And whatever, yes. I'm fine with that. I mean, let's face it, the most intrusive Porg moment is in the trailer, and that's when Chewie roars and then the Porg roars as well.
Yeah,
that's it. So no, the Porgs are pretty inconsequential to me. I'm just like, whatever. I'm fine with that. They don't really bother me for whatever it's worth. I mean, for me, the low point for me in the film, as in the bit which really made me kind of groan and go, really? It was the Super Leia bit.
See, that didn't bother me. It
bothered. So this is the thing. We see Kylo streaking towards the ship. He's going to fire. He hesitates. The other two fire. The bridge is destroyed, killing Admiral Akbar as well at that point, which I think is a huge travesty.
Yes.
Surely he should have seen that coming and shouted out something along the lines of, "It's an elaborate ruse." But still, I thought at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, so in light of everything, that's Leia done right there and then.
Yeah.
Don't agree with it, a little annoyed at it, but I understand it. Fine. But then what they did is they Star Trek 2'd it. They did a fake out. And it's just the way they did it. I honestly expected, to start hearing the first few beats of John Williams' Superman theme. Dun 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 dun. It just felt a little. I mean, and again, I don't have a problem with it from a story point of view because we know that Leia is Force sensitive.
Yeah.
This has been established, and it almost seemed more done on instinct than like a deliberate. I'm choosing to fly back to it. I'm okay with that. I just again feel you could have had the same result, incapacitating Leia and all that sort of stuff, without the Superman moment. It was just a little, on the nose
fair.
for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think maybe if you'd seen her keep herself alive in space until like someone went out and rescued her or something, maybe that would have been more palatable. I do think I agree with that. It did visually look a little silly. But overall, I don't take it. Like, I look at it this way. I think that if Luke, someone we'd seen use the Force and we'd seen literally jump, and all these crazy things before, I don't think we would be as bothered by it if we saw like Luke do it. I think because we're not used to thinking of like knowing that she does have force power, we don't really ever see her use it. I don't think we were expecting that so much from her, so I think that helped make it more.
I don't think it's so much that with this film. I think it's very clearly an animated layer. Like it's fully CG. It's uncanny valley there a little bit, and I think that more so than anything else. Again, I don't know. It's entirely possible they hadn't filmed those sequences before she passed. It's entirely possible something changed, something else was supposed to go in it. I don't know what's gone on there. It's just that bit there was just a little bit, it definitely took you out of the moment. And it was a bit there. But yeah, that was that. Again, as with all Star Wars films, there's definitely a few moments of like going, if you just did this, we wouldn't have this problem at all. Mostly revolving around Admiral Holden not telling Poe what the plan was, which I got to say, if, okay, she doesn't have to tell him. No, I get that. But he's clearly causing trouble. Put him to one side, little word in his ear, say, dude, just calm your boots. I've got this.
No, I agree.
Perhaps could have saved a whole lot of trouble there.
I have to say, overall, this film, as I said earlier, I love specific spots of it. The spots that we've referenced. I'm trying to think if we've missed anything. I will say though, I do have a problem. I worry about the rewatchability of the film. I know you said you've seen it twice already, and I'm curious to see it again, but I'm not as eager to see it again as I was The Force Awakens. Like Force Awakens, it was like, oh my god, that was great. I want to go on that ride again.
Interesting. I was very much the opposite way.
See, and it's really because of the length. I just really feel like the film was a bit bloated, and it's kind of like, I look at it this way, like it's kind of film that I guarantee you when I'll watch it whenever it's on, just like pretty much any Star Wars, it's a question of whether I'll be engaged for the entire film or if it'll be on in the background and I'll just perk my head up at certain moments. I feel like this is going to be the perk my head up at certain moments kind of film over time. The length of it and the just it did bother me. As I was watching it, I found myself editing it a bit in my head, and I found myself questioning how much I liked it. And if I have time to do that, then that's an indication to me that there are some issues. Because I tend to, whenever I watch a film, the first time I see it, I experience it emotionally. The next time I watch it is when I experience it more intellectually. And usually it's like when you guys, when you've done with the Black Dog pubcasts and stuff, I would probably be very bad at a pubcast because I probably would give you a totally different response to a film than I might the next day. Because when I came out of the film so like, I was so emotionally moved and I was so touched, and even though like what I'm saying now, I did have those moments during the film, they were kind of forgotten. I was just so in the, oh my God, that was a Star Wars experience and that was wonderful. And I feel so good right now. I feel so hype. And it's like the next day as I'm thinking about it, that's when I start piecing things together and going, but that dragged a little bit and they could have done without that. And I feel like they kind of threw too much in. So I do, as much as I did like it, I'm not going back on anything I said here, I do question the rewatchability for myself, how into it I'll be next time I see it.
No, that's fair. I mean, when I watched it again the second time, like I said, because I kind of knew where things were going, I could revel in the moment a lot more. I didn't have the anticipation of what's coming next, where are we going next, what does this do. I didn't feel like I had to take it in very quickly so that I could then move on to the next bit and understand that. I was able to enjoy it in the moment a lot more. So for me, the second viewing was better than the first. I've seen it now. I'm probably not going to go and see it again in the cinema. Well, actually, I lie. I might well do when I'm over in the US. But with The Force Awakens, I saw it once. I saw it at the premiere, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm good. And then the next time I watched it was about 2 weeks ago, before seeing this, because I just had no impetus, no urgency to go and do it. It was thrilling. I enjoyed it at the time, but as time went on, it wasn't so much the similarities and the parallels to A New Hope that bugged me. It was a lot of things like, well, mystery boxes, like I said, annoy me. They just do. Blame Into Darkness there. But things like, they're attacking a Starkiller base, which is, a bigger Death Star, effectively.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's not a bigger battle. It's a much smaller battle than even the first Death Star attack. And, okay, maybe, again, I'm getting into my science fiction sort of spaceship nerd here. But I wanted to see the Battle of Endor ×3 or something like that. I wanted to see the New Republic fleet taking on and slugging it out, not, half a dozen X-Wings trying to do it. There was just no excitement for me there. There was no ships for me to enjoy in that moment. And it just seemed very, I don't want to say convoluted, very convenient how that was all played out there. And I've got to say this, having watched The Last Jedi now, with the exception of introducing us to the characters, nothing in that film has any real bearing in the galaxy. I mean, okay, the First Order destroyed the Republic, but we never knew the Republic. We never got a chance to meet them or to get to know them. The entirety of The Force Awakens was summed up in the first paragraph of the opening crawl. So it's just like this film massively undercuts The Force Awakens, and I think where you fall on this film probably to some certain extent depends on how high a regard you hold The Force Awakens, perhaps.
Okay.
Again, just putting it out there potentially. I mean, I'll say this, and straying a little bit away from the film more into the zeitgeisty sort of thing. I am surprised at the amount of division and downright hatred this film is generating.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it.
Because I'll tell you this all for nothing. This is far from the worst Star Wars film. This is far from the second to worst Star Wars film. I mean, again, I don't like to get into the whole kind of ranking and ratings and stuff like that,
Yeah. But
this is top 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah, this is. I thought it was very. As a fan, I thought it was very entertaining, and I thought that again, the high notes that it hit are among the highest in the franchise, as far as I'm concerned.
And it's just, I don't think any film since The Phantom Menace has generated this amount of debate and discussion.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe that's just because we now live in that Twitter world, the Twitter sphere, where it's instant reactions straight away. I mean, God help us if Empire came out when social media was around.
Oh yeah.
Because that would just be, oh Jesus Christ. But it is shocking to me. I'm not seeing any middling responses to this, and I know it might just be a case of they're getting drowned out by the people who absolutely love it and the people who absolutely hate it. But it definitely feels like you're coming down one side of this. It's also the whole Rotten Tomatoes thing. This thing's got like 96% from critics, but I think 54% from fans.
Yeah,
and I just find that interesting.
No, I it's we could have a philosophical debate on it whether or not it has anything to do with Star Wars at all, if it has any to do with our current society of, tribal mentality of you're for it or you're against it, whatever it is. Oh, you're on that side, I'm on this side. How much of that is bleeding into because it definitely, I think we are in an age of hyperbole when it comes to opinions, whether we're talking about movies or sandwich shops or, again, politics. But I don't know how much that bleeds into it, or I don't know how much it's a case of expectation of I think Star Wars it's one of those things where I think ever since our generation everybody was disappointed by the prequels. I think that from that point on, it's if you're going to do Star Wars, well, you better make me feel like the original trilogy felt. But then again, Force Awakens, well, don't make me feel too much like the original trilogy. It's like you damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the part that really blows my mind, is that you have people that, the biggest criticism for Force Awakens is that it was essentially just a reboot or almost a redo of New Hope. In many ways it was.
Yeah.
And now you have something that decides, okay, we're going to be totally original. We're going to certainly, connect to everything, but we're gonna go in some directions that are gonna blow your mind and things you've not seen before. Well, no, now you've gone too far outside the box. Like it's what's gonna make people happy, and maybe the answer is nothing. Maybe there isn't a Star Wars film that can be made outside the original trilogy without upsetting at least half the fan base.
Oh, even within the original trilogy, there are those out there who Star Wars is the only real Star Wars film, and Empire is the only real one. And fair play to you. I did read an interesting article somewhere, and I can't remember where it was to cite the source and all this, but it was when Disney got the Star Wars license, The Force Awakens, it had to steady the ship. It had to lay a foundation. It had to effectively pave over the prequels, the George Lucas era. It had to get us back to zero.
Yeah.
But they were committed to carrying a narrative forward. They weren't just doing a reboot. It was it's a new thing. So they were kind of hands tied. You almost effectively have to go back and touch on these points because for whatever reason they knew that was the only way the fans were going to respond to it in that positive fashion. This film definitely seems like they said, okay, now we can do it. Well, this is what we wanted to do, and we're just sweeping it all under the rug. It's just it's all gone, and now we're doing this thing. This is what we're doing now, and I quite like that. I almost wonder as well if a lot of the negativity against it is getting back to, again, this is a very meta film. It is talking directly to the audience in a lot of places, and again, a lot of it is Adam Driver, Kylo Ren telling the audience, let it go, let it die. It doesn't matter. You need to let go of the Jedi, of the Sith, of the Empire, of the Rebels. You need to let it all go, and let's face it. If there's one thing, as I get older, I know more and more. It's kind of hard to want to do that. It's like I kind of want to hang on to this a bit more. So
yeah,
maybe.
No, I think that's a very valid point.
Mm-hmm. Again, we've already said it, but I mean, I think this film kind of, it put its mark in the sand when the first scene with Luke takes one look at the lightsaber, just throws it over his shoulder. It's just like, because ever since that scene at the end of Force Awakens, even before that, the question was, what is Luke going to say? What is Luke going to do? What and then have that moment, and the music swells, and there's all this. They spent the entire movie looking for Luke, and then you find him, and there's this potential. What is he going to say? What is he going to do? He's going to be surprised. Where's the hand? Where's the hand that came with this? All of this sort of stuff, and it's just like he doesn't say anything, just casually throws it over his shoulder. It's just like that was pretty much all you could do there, because anything else was going to be like, well, I was expecting something more, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just. Push comes to shove, maybe it simply comes down to also the fact that Star Wars is just such a cultural cornerstone that the original trilogy is almost it's given an appreciation that I'm going to say something that might it's going to be more dangerous than the Porg comment.
Okay.
Maybe it has a reputation that in some ways it doesn't deserve. Because we treat it like it's a religion, and it's just untouchable. It's this untouchable thing that anyone who does anything, whether you're trying to copy it or whether you're trying to do something new with it, you're going to piss a certain portion of the public off.
I'll tell you this: I recently acquired, figure quotes, the despecialized editions of the original trilogy, and anyone who's listening doesn't know what that is. It is a 1080p Blu-ray quality. Version of the Star Wars films with all of the special effects that George Lucas has added since 91 taken out.
Wow.
It is as close to watching these films as they were released in 77, 81 and 83 as you can get. And my God, do they stand up well. Better than... Because there's no dated CG in there. It's all model work and stuff like that. And it's even bits which, aren't necessarily bad, like the additional... X-Wings in the Battle of Yavin, or the extra scene with a Wampa in Empire. Even with those bits, it just feels more. It feels more real. It feels more like this. It's up there with Alien now again in that kind of almost timeless film. And I was watching these again because I hadn't watched Star Wars in a while. Me and Star Wars, we had a bit of a breakup around 99,
Okay.
You could probably guess why. We didn't speak for a while. But, we started seeing each other again a couple of years ago, getting back, just, taking it slow. And I revisited these things, and I was surprised at how good Empire is. Because I thought, I've just built it up in my mind, and the zeitgeist has built up Empire to this history. No, Empire legitimately is absolutely worthy of its status, and Star Wars as well. Jedi, I have problems with. Jedi feels more like it's got some of the best sequences in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But as a film as a whole, it's a little disjointed. But still, it stands up there fantastically well. The Last Jedi, I don't think is, as I've already said, it's not up there with Empire. I've seen people saying it is. It's just not.
No, it's not. And I think there was a temptation to decide even before anyone screened it that, it's the middle film of this trilogy, so it's got to be Empire-ish.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that. Like I don't feel it connect with Empire in any way. In fact, it to me it doesn't connect with Empire because it doesn't necessarily end on a down note. Like it's yes.
You know what, this film, weirdly enough, this film felt more like the end of a trilogy. This film ended with a more definitive ending almost.
Yeah.
Arguably more of a downward ending, but it does feel like whatever they go and do with the next episode, they kind of want to jump forward like 5 or 10 years.
That'd be interesting.
It just feels like there needs to be a larger period of time between the two, rather than picking up straight afterwards.
I don't remember where I read this, but I know that, we know that Disney plans on making more of these films. And I do remember reading an article not long ago where they essentially said that this current trilogy is and this is going to upset a lot of people probably, but this current trilogy is meant to kind of be the springboard to the next trilogy. Like I think the next trilogy, we're going to be completely away from any of the characters from the original trilogy, and maybe that will make that'd be interesting to see how those films are received. If we have Star Wars but without any connection to any of the characters that come from the original trilogy, I wonder how those films will stand up. Because maybe ultimately that's the reason, that's the problem, that we need to get far removed from the original. Let's just stop touching it. Let's stop dealing with those characters. That we love them, we have them in our own, forgive me for saying this, box, not a mystery box, a box that we know of, but we have them in that, we have a frame of reference for them, and we have everything that they're made of and who they are and what they do and their arc. Maybe we need their arcs to be completely done and we're never touching upon them again, and let them be like religion. They're off, and we have our revere, we revere them, and we're not going to do anything to the memory of them, and we're just going to do stuff with new people. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what people will embrace, and everyone can just take a chill pill and have fun again because it's supposed to be a movie for kids. Of all ages.
Surely you jest, sir.
I had to say that because I know that's the kind of that line always gets people. But no, for kids of all ages.
I would love to see stories set in the Star Wars universe that are nothing to do with the Skywalker family, the rebellion, the Empire. It's a fantastically well built up world, and I would love to see a Star Wars story that was nothing to do with anything else. I want to go and have a story on Canto Bight, which is effectively a casino heist. Just that. Do that. I'm fine with that,
That would be exciting.
If you're going to do me something on Coruscant, do that whole 1313 concept where, it's just a couple of bounty hunters who we've never met before, never heard of before, just, trying to take down a mark somewhere down behind. The one thing Lucas was better at than anything else was world building. So take this world, this galaxy, this universe he's created, and let's go exploring it without being caught up. Don't do the Marvel Cinematic Universe thing where I have to watch 17 sodding films and watch every one-shot, every spin-off TV series and about 50 years worth of comics just so I know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
I just want to sit down, watch it, enjoy it, and I'm good with that. So yeah, that would be nice.
That works.
Yeah. So, given the nature of what used to be Spacedock, this being the podcast formerly known as Spacedock Jury, it could also be the podcast formerly known as The Question if you want, but still, my point is, symbol. Let's talk about some spaceships here, because
Okay.
I like me some spaceships.
Of course.
There were some cool spaceships on here. There were some silly spaceships, but there were some cool spaceships. Have you got any particular favourites in here?
I feel that I'm going to start with one that I didn't like.
Okay.
I didn't like the whole salt scraper thingies at the end.
The little airspeedery thingies.
Yeah, I just didn't like. I just didn't.
What I would have liked, and this kind of goes against my whole thing about calling back to the original trilogy, though. But if they'd have used the same sort of speed as they used on Hoth, but geared differently, because there's the line in Empire that these speeders are having trouble adapting to the cold. Mm-hmm. But it would be kind of cool if they had a load of those speeders. They'd be like, oh, that's nice, And then, but then again, I think if you use those speeders, you'd have a lot of people saying, oh, it's just Empire, it's just Battle of Hoth reversed or whatever, But it would be nice that it was a ship that we'd seen before, It's kind of a nice little callback there, which would be kind of cool.
Also, ships that I liked but didn't like, and because remember what I was saying earlier about the casino, it like bringing me too much into our world.
Yep.
The bombers, I didn't like the fact that they wore the uniforms. They made it feel like a World War II bomber. They didn't look like it from the outside, but the whole they had that whole feel like, and I'm sure that's probably what they were going for. It was reminiscent of.
Oh, that was 100% deliberate, and I have to say. If we were still doing Spacedock and scoring, they would score quite poorly. Just because you're telling me you've got to fly slowly towards the big bad ship to drop your bombs literally right on top of them. This is not a good strategy, my friends. This will end poorly for you.
And who would need those in an age where you could fire lasers? Big cannon lasers.
Yeah, we have proton torpedoes that blow up Death Stars. Why aren't you using those? It was a cool sequence, seeing all the bombs light up and then fall. But it did highlight an intrinsic problem with them that you get shot while your bombs are armed, they're going to blow up and take out all the bombers around you. Yeah. So that was a little bit embarrassing. I liked the captain of the dreadnought. A kind of blustery go, he's taken out our cannons. Perfect Imperial officers, all speaking with an English accent, as you expect, because England does give you the best bad guys, as we know.
Always.
General Hux notwithstanding, but that was kind of cool seeing it blowing up. We've already touched upon it. I loved the light speed collision bit. That whole sequence was just magnificent.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Again, it's a very Mon Calamari ship. A little fact for the more geeking among us: the ship was called Varadus, named after the admiral from Rogue One, who we'd never heard of before until this film, because it's almost like the film was made.
I did not catch that.
Oh, it's not mentioned in the film. This is purely I think it's mentioned in one of the lead-up media or something like that. But the ship's called Varadus, named after a hero from the Rebellion. So there you go.
Very nice.
And that was just kind of cool. Again, though, Admiral Holden, I have to question her wardrobe choice for shipboard operations. It doesn't seem particularly user-friendly.
Seem more in line with the Hunger Games than Star Wars.
Well, I was going to say, it seemed more like Canto Bight, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I could see you offering that out on the dance floor.
Side note, and
Yes.
I'm going to just ask this as a question.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on like Laura Dern, Benicio del Toro, like established actors showing up in Star Wars? Because I to me it kind of doesn't ruin it, but it kind of like, to me, part of the lore, part of the fun of the Star Wars films is that it came out and we didn't know any of these people, and we learned these, these people kind of, with the exception obviously of like Peter Cushing, like a few major stars. I'm going to take that entire thing back because Alec Guinness. Now I'm thinking, I don't know, forget it. Let's just edit that whole thing out.
Well, as you know me, I'm absolutely not going to do that. But to answer the question of which you haven't asked, all I would say is, with those two, especially with Benicio del Toro,
it just feels like stunt casting.
I get what you're saying there, but he definitely loses himself in the role enough that he's not particularly recognizable. Like he is his character there. I'm kind of fine with that. I mean, you can make the same argument of Oscar Isaacs, who was maybe on the cusp of becoming a name when he started in Force Awakens. He's done quite a few bits and pieces there. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I was trying to think, because there's another franchise. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I did think the same thing at the time. But I just don't think you can get away from it now. It's you kind of well, I suppose Harry Potter's the one to maybe look at there. Casting Alan Rickman and all that as Snape. I think you got to take it down on the individual actor and you've got some actors who will disappear into a role like Gary Oldman. I mean, I know full well Gary Oldman is in The Fifth Element. I know who he's playing. I've seen pictures, but you show me a picture of Zorg and Gary Oldman, and I still can't put the two together.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Getting back to because spaceship again, I like me Mr. Spaceships. Spaceships. I quite again just a little thing. It's less than a fraction of a second on the screen. Did leave me asking more questions than anything else. Is Luke's X-wing on Acto was kind of a nice touch.
Yes.
Under the water.
Yes.
Although the question is, where's his astromech? Because you need one of those to fly those things. Was it R2? If so, how did R2 get back from there?
That's true.
You see? Just kind of prodding at it there. Yeah. I also like the opening scene as well when the Star Destroyers start arriving and you can see them from the surface. That was a nice little touch.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of hyperspacing in. Wasn't a huge fan of the Supremacy. I know long-term listeners to the podcast formerly known as Spacedock will be shocked. But, yeah, the big flying wing, it just seemed a little bit... You could easily argue that old Snoke was compensating for something there. I mean, I'm all on board with Vader's Superstar Destroyer, but this one just seemed silly.
Yeah, and I do like that Kylo Ren's X-wing was reminiscent of Darth Vader's, kind of continuing that whole
TIE fighter.
His TIE fighter, I'm sorry,
yes.
I called it an X-wing, didn't I?
You did.
His TIE fighter was reminiscent of Vader's, kind of calling again to that whole I've got to be Grandpa thing.
I mean, again, just getting back to the whole meta thing, when he first sits down with Snoke and Snoke goes, "Look at you, a boy wearing a mask pretending to be Darth Vader." It's like,
yeah,
are you talking through the fourth wall here? Because, it feels like you're talking through the fourth wall here. I kind of appreciated that. It was kind of nice. I mean, just getting back again. This is what happens when we do these. There's no structure. We bounce around all over the place. that whole sequence with Snoke, the way it sets up how powerful he is. With, I mean, it's mirroring the Emperor's scene in Jedi. With calling Rey, young Rey, and he can't be turned. There's no conflict within him. It was I who allowed you to meet and all this. Yeah. Obviously, he doesn't suffer from palpatinophobia, which, as we all know, is a fear of a deflector shield being quite operational when your friends arrive. But other than that, it was lots of callbacks. I quite liked though. Just it sets him up to be this big bad, and then just shish kebabs him.
Then he's just done.
He's just done.
We're just done with that.
I almost like the idea that J.J. Abrams, upon watching this, is going like, "Oh, come on!"
Snoke, I had high plans for you.
Yeah. We had such plans for him. Oh well. I think it's. I mean, I think, as you say, Kylo kind of has to be. It has to be the big bad. He has to be the. Because again, if he's just following orders, then he's. In a strange way, his motives are less noble than even the Emperor's were. I mean, as evil and as corrupt and everything else, the Emperor, or at least Vader, was trying to create order.
Yeah.
To bring end to the conflict, whereas Kylo is, certainly now at this point, it's just like, nope, gonna kill everyone, get all you motherfuckers. I'm gonna kill you because they upset me.
It's all about me.
A little bit. It is all about me. I mean. The hissy fit, when he sees the Falcon, he goes, "Blow that hunk of junk out of the sky."
Yeah. By the way, we mentioned gratuitous before. I will say
Yeah.
it is gratuitous at this point that the Falcon always has to fly through something like a tight enclosed space, whether it's underground or through an old ship or whatever. It's like that scene now, I guess, has to be in every film.
Oh no, I think again. I think this was just Ryan Johnson wanting to get rid of that square deflector dish. He wants to round one back, so yeah, I'm going to just fly through that. But I absolutely adored they used the same music cue from the attack on the Death Star.
Yeah.
I mean, again, let's just take a moment and like doff our caps to John Williams. It's so easy to get blasé with him to kind of forget what he brings to this film. But after a couple of films, after a film where we had Giacchino doing it, and Rebels, it's not him. But to suddenly have John Williams back doing the John Williams score, it was delightful. It was just like, yes.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
There was, I mean, when the Yoda theme pipes up as well. That, I mean, again, it didn't bring a tear to my eye, but there was such a wave of nostalgia that hit me at that point. And the way the music just kind of ends while they sit there watching the tree burning, I'm like, okay, you can just end the film there. The music cue was just like, and we're done.
Yeah.
I do have the soundtrack as well, so that might find its way over to you in the not too distant future.
Beautiful.
But yeah, the music in this was absolutely fantastic. It's full of callbacks. We still have Rey's theme in there, some of the themes established in The Force Awakens, but much more in keeping with the themes from the original trilogy. You get little bits of the Imperial March when talking about Vader. I mean, again, Vader still is a large presence in these films without. I mean, we don't even see his mask in this one like we did in the last one. It's still.
Well, what's funny about that? I kind of felt, maybe I just imagined it, but I kind of felt that after Kylo Ren destroys his mask, the rubble of it, to me, looked very reminiscent of the burnt Vader mask. Now, again, could be totally imagining that in my head, but I thought when I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, it looks more Vaderish right now."
I know. I think you're right. I think there's that, but I definitely think that was a deliberate. I don't know if this is Ryan Johnson saying the mask is silly. Because again, Vader had to wear the mask. Yeah, it didn't have to look like that, but he had to wear it. And with Snoke saying, "Take that ridiculous thing off," it's just, it's like you're scolding a child. It's like, stop being such a fucking pussy. Take it off, man.
Do you feel that Kylo Ren grew in this film?
He grew. Whether it was for the better or not.
Well, we saw his chest. We know he grew. He went wide as well.
I did quite like the Ray saying, "Can you put a towel on?"
I have to say, well, Melissa actually said it out loud in the theater. She's like, "Oh, come on, we don't want to see this." Like something like that. She was like, "Jesus Christ."
Oh well, Ray was with you at that point. It's just put a towel on or something.
I love that, but I love the interplay between them. I love, and to me that's no small feat because again, he killed Han Solo. We hate him. She hates him. He to me is incapable of redemption. Although he didn't kill his mother, he did hold back. So you have that thought, but it's like you're supposed to despise him, but yet at the same time, they were able to play those scenes where you did start to gain a little bit of empathy for him. You started to root for him a little bit that, maybe he'll do the right thing. He turns enough so that when that scene happens where he turns, you're like, yes, we're they're going to fight together now. And then, but because we still can't fully forgive him, the fact that he doesn't really turn all the way and that he's really just turns it into something pretty selfish, you're able to still go, yes, like I'm so happy the box that we're keeping you in. And I love the character arcs for everybody in this film.
No, I really enjoyed the interplay between the two of them as well. And again, both of them, especially Daisy Ridley, I think, knocked it out of the park with just the acting performances here. There was real emotion shown there. I definitely felt for, not the conflict, but, but certainly you felt that she's being, pulled in direction. Both of them, again, when they touch hands together there, and even when the turn goes on, I really didn't know who was going to go which way.
Yeah,
And
they established that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing I love about this film. again, yourself and I think we're both pretty savvy in the language of cinema. We can generally read and tell where things are going. For me at least, this went in directions I wasn't expecting, and you go, oh, okay.
To further that point, there were, because of so many fan theories that were out there, there were ideas that were planted in my head about directions it might go, and I actually felt like, and I'm sure they were conscious of this, I'm sure this was deliberately done, I felt they kind of they had you thinking they were going to go down some of those roads, and then they didn't. Like when Rey, when Luke's like, the Jedi has to end, and the whole, like, you have to give it, we shouldn't have this, and his whole, like, all of his spiel, and then Rey with how quickly you went to the dark, all that. There was a lot of talk before the films that people were saying they were going to establish kind of a new dynamic of balanced Force users. And getting away from the whole light and dark. And even like when Kylo Ren is saying no more Sith, no more Jedi, like for that moment you're thinking like, yeah, they're going, that's kind of might be what happened. No, they didn't go there.
Yeah. And
I was so happy they didn't. There was a lot of talk about, Luke is going to go dark, which to me would have really I mean, they would have had to, that would have had to have been so well written for me to accept it, because to me it undoes everything from the original trilogy and the whole point of it. If he all of a sudden goes dark, and the fact that he didn't, I was so happy that they didn't make that choice. They didn't go in that direction, but they everything leading up to the film and in the film itself, you kind of felt like, well, I don't expect him to go to the dark side, but he definitely is not this bright, hopeful kid that he once was.
Oh, he's so far removed from that boy on Tatooine.
Yeah.
But you know what? After whatever it is, 25, 30 years since he left there, the stuff he's seen, the stuff he's done, that wide-eyed boy, I mean, take away the righteousness of what he's done. How many deaths was he responsible for? That's going to weigh on him. And we know that, in the Force, he's going to feel those. He's going to sense them. So, I know one of the complaints I've seen online is a lot of people upset about how, Luke is the coward, or Luke ran away, and all this sort of stuff. Shut himself off from the Force. I think that was the most realistic thing he could do after everything he'd seen, and I love that. I mean, when she realizes that you've shut yourself off from the Force, why? And it's just like, his revelation. Go, I came here to die. It's just like this is it's straight up PTSD, basically.
Yeah.
And you know what? It works with the character. And I was fine with it. And it also makes his final, decision to intervene, to come back, to be the spark, all the more poignant and moving. And, again, when you see him walk in there, the interplay with him and Leia was fantastic. The wink at C-3PO was awesome. And, the way, as he steps out there, with, the pride and, knowing, again, kind of comfortable in his own skin. At least it seems to be that case. And then it's even more fitting when you see the reveal that he's still on Acto, nobly sitting, hovering off of that rock, cross-legged. You can see the strain that it's putting up on him. And again, I can't think of a more fitting, finger quote, death for him than that. I mean, the only thing I think that was really, I don't know if it was exactly there. I don't know if they played the Two Sons theme from Tatooine or not. I think they did, but it's just like,
they might as well in that moment. I was so caught in it that
And the thing is, I love the symmetry of it. Again, I don't know if you've ever seen the making of Phantom Menace with George Lucas, and he's talking about it repeats itself, it rhymes, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And well, his mistake is the prequels, they don't rhyme, they copy.
Yes.
This rhymes, though. This is rhyming with, and I like that. It resonates with the original trilogy films, and I love the serendipity. I love the symmetry between both Star Wars and Empire and what you get here. And in terms of bookending a character, I don't think you could do better. Look, I guarantee he's going to be back in Episode 9.
Yeah.
But this was how Luke had to end.
It was a perfect callback and a perfect completing of the circle.
Absolutely, and I really enjoyed it and appreciated it. So I was fine with that. I mean, the only thing that and it's just because I don't know how they're going to deal with it, is how are they going to deal with Carrie Fisher going forward?
Yeah.
Because, as we've already touched on, Disney have said they won't do her as a CG character, rightfully so in my opinion.
But she's too big to have an off-screen death.
I think she's too big to have an off-screen death, but at the same time, and this is why I'm feeling almost like, do you time jump forward a larger segment of time into the next one?
Yeah.
To kind of allow that to do whatever, or
I think for a number of reasons, I think a time jump would be a preferable option, because it would allow for a lot more character, a lot more things to happen that to make them feel less awkward. Like Rey's powers could be much more advanced, her abilities could be much more advanced. If we start like a year later and she's like Luke level Jedi, it's kind of silly because she's still at apprentice level. Now, granted, how's she going to get there without a master? But whatever that. I'm sure we could figure that out. She got the books. There you go.
She's got the page turners.
She's got the books. And Luke could visit her as a Force ghost, conceivably. But if we like 5 years later, we can fill that gap. We can the suspension of disbelief it can be a lot stronger. And even Finn, everyone could develop more. Poe could now be the leader. He could actually be filling Leia's shoes at this point, because why else would they have done that? They fucking
drilled that lesson into him 3 times in this bloody film.
Like if they did that and that goes nowhere beyond beyond that last moment where he's like, no, we can't, we've got to go, because he finally learned that lesson. Like that, honestly, that's a lesson that should carry him through to future leadership. I
almost wonder, are they going to start off the next film with Leia's funeral? Is that how you pick up the film then?
That might be the best, and then just a throwaway line or something explaining that, she used up all of her, energy keeping herself alive or whatever. Or maybe they don't even have to explain it. Maybe we could just be satisfied with it. I don't know.
I don't think everything needs an explanation, so I'm with you on that. But I feel there were definitely moments in this film where, if she swapped places with Admiral Holdo, that would have been an absolutely fitting death. That would have been wonderful.
But at the same time, you go, I'll stay.
Yeah, but at the same time, it would have robbed us of that final interaction between her and Luke, and
True.
that was probably my favorite scene in the film, to be honest. I mean, okay, spaceship nerd, the ramming, I love that bit, but the bit when she goes, "I know what you're going to say, my hair." And it's just the way he's caught flat-footed by that, and he goes, "It suits you." You can tell there's so much love between them there.
Yeah,
both Luke and Leia, and also Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. And in that moment, it's just like I wouldn't have given anything to miss that. It's like that had to be in there. So I'm glad that they kept it to that point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. So anything else that you feel is worth? We can keep going if you like, but
No, I think we've covered the gambit of it. I think overall,
I think people have certainly gotten from this that there's a lot of nuance in the world, and you can't just say if it's good or bad. You kind of have to go and see it and make up your own mind. And I've got to say, if you're listening to this and still haven't seen the film, the fuck's wrong with you? Are you some sort of masochist or something? Because Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. I think I'm done. I can't think of anything else I have to say on the subject. I'm still invested in the franchise, and I'm very much looking forward to the next one.
Me too as well. I tell you what, I am going to say there is probably something we haven't really talked on, and I think we should probably touch on just a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, we've kind of touched on it a little bit. We've not really gone into it. I tell you, it's 2 things. Firstly, Captain Phasma.
Oh God, Captain Phasma.
You know why we haven't spoken about her? Because she made such a little impression in this film.
Yeah,
that we pretty much forgot.
She was, and it's like one of the worst things about Phantom Menace. One of the mistakes of Force Awakens is just the way she was a Darth Maul character, because she was built up like, oh my God, I can't wait. Captain Phasma, she's going to be badass, and
she was a Boba Fett
Gwendolyn
character.
Christie from Game of Thrones. She's going to be amazing, and then she was really not all that much, and then she ends up getting disposed of in the worst way in that film, just like tossed in the garbage compactor, and now she comes back, and it was an unsatisfying treatment of the character, as far as I'm concerned. Basically, I feel like Captain Phasma, we hardly knew you, and we're supposed to feel something about you, but really, what? That's yeah, I don't not on board with how she's been handled as a character.
No, she's just a little bit. I mean, I almost wonder, is she going to show up again in episode 9 and again be easily beaten? I mean, what's even the point? They made such a big deal with her in the lead up to Force Awakens and into this. I mean, she's had her own a standalone novel. She's had a standalone comic.
She's kind of the Boba Fett of the new trilogy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, people complain about the Porgs. No, it's characters like Phasma you want to be complaining about. They're
and
the ones
she could be brilliant. She could absolutely be brilliant. That actress is brilliant. So I think she could do a lot with that role. But they just
she could easily be the General Hux character. To be perfectly honest,
yeah.
There's no reason why she, and I'm not talking about the snivelling little worm that is Hux. She could be a legitimate military leader in charge of the military forces. The scientific, logical, tactical side to the more emotive, religious side that is Kylo Ren. That would work.
That would work very well.
No, it's no.
We use her as a punchline, and I will say one of my least favorite moments, hearing the word Chrome Dome used as an insult. That's just so. It's just stupid. It's just a stupid taunt.
Yeah. And the other character we haven't really touched upon is Finn, who I feel was a little underserved in the film.
He was there only to elevate Rose, which is fun. I loved Rose. I'm so happy for that character to come into the universe. I think she was wonderful, but Finn kind of he was no longer that much of a big deal. He really just was. He was basically her sidekick.
Pretty much. I mean, it certainly felt like they were setting up a sacrifice moment at the end, and I was like, oh wow. Well, you're going to kill him off now? I'm on board with that. It's a brave move, but I'm on board with it. But no, they didn't.
And the thing too is that I think from a writing standpoint, I think she should have died. I think when she saved him, someone should have died there. The price for her saving him is that she should have sacrificed her own life. I think stories are always better when there are real consequences.
Absolutely, yeah. There's got to be stakes. And I feel, outside of Captain Phasma, is she, isn't she? Who knows? But yeah, if she died, or if he'd actually gone through and managed to do it, I'd have been like, I felt he'd been underserved in the film, but that sacrifice and that character moment there, and going from the guy who's trying to run away in the escape pod to sacrificing himself like that,
yeah, that would have been huge.
It would have been huge, and I would have been on board with that. Unfortunately, they didn't. It just seemed clumsy, and again, now the whole Canto Bite thing, it just, yeah. I mean, again, pretty much Finn had to be in there. I get that. Yeah. He's been set up as one of the new, one of the main characters here. One of the Holy Trinity, if you will. It's Finn, Poe, and Rey. Who, interestingly enough, this is the first time Poe and Rey met, was in this one. And he made a point of going up and saying, oh, hi, I'm Poe. I'm Rey. Yeah, I know. We're just doing this so you all know that we know each other now. So
I think Finn had to live so that JJ can tell us that he and Rey are the children of Lando Calrissian in the next film.
Well, they've got to find some excuse to bring Billy D. Williams back,
Oh, my God. That would be the most rage-inducing thing.
Well, again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm legitimately... I'm interested, but I am fearful as to what will JJ do next. Because JJ could be brilliant, and JJ can be derivative. Yeah. There's kind of no middle ground there. And I really hope he will be brilliant.
Well, if he follows Rian Johnson's lead... then because he's a very obviously I'm a fan of J.J. Abrams, independent of some of the criticisms that I think are valid towards him. I think that if he follows he keeps going on the course that Johnson took the franchise, we'll be fine. If he feels the need to steer back towards what he had originally put out there, then we might be in trouble.
I don't think they have.
Then I'll have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, I don't think they. Well, incidentally, that was in the film. BB-8 said that. So for all of you out there, yes, at the beginning before the attack on the Dreadnought.
Just to jump back for a second. When it comes to characters that are hyped up ahead of time, whoever the evil BB-8 is, like we saw a million commercials and like all the toys and everything, and everyone's hyping up the little black flat topped BB-8 version, the evil BB-8, and he really didn't do much evil as far as I'm concerned. We kind of just got to look at him, and it was like, okay, big deal.
Yeah, again, the whole Canto bite. It did nothing. You take that whole sequence out, it's a tighter film. You've not really lost anything outside of Rey and of Finn and Rose getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So, and you could have done her on the ship, to be perfectly honest. That there was where it kind of fell down a bit. I mean, so Rian Johnson is now confirmed that he will be taking the lead on this new trilogy that you spoke about earlier. He will write and direct the first one and oversee the entire trilogy. Is it? Are you on board with this? Are you excited? Are you worried? Where do you feel about how that would go?
I'm excited about it. I think that I have a feeling that or at least I have nothing to base this on really. So I'm just speaking out of my ass. But I would imagine, because I do think that he's a very capable filmmaker. I think that he will hopefully take the criticism of the length of the film, because that does seem to be a common theme, of all the criticisms. That does seem to be one that even people who like the film, I know a lot of people have said, the length, it was a little bit too long. I know I read some of the Rotten Tomatoes comments, and that was, I loved it, but it was a little too long. Maybe he will take the advice that try not to pack so much into one particular movie, and maybe with the freedom to create his own story and not having to be tied down to the original trilogy in any way and the original characters. I think that the choices that he made in terms of character development and just plot twists, I think everything was spot on. There was nothing that I had a disagreement with. The only true issue I had was you packed it too much. You could have cut some of it out and either just omitted it or just saved it for another story. And that's it. Because I think overall the high notes were high enough for me to love this film and defend it against all critics.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one. I'm certainly, as I said before, I'm excited to see where they will go away from the Skywalker saga. It would be good to see just films set in the universe, free of the baggage that comes with stuff. I don't even necessarily want to see Jedi v Sith or anything like that. I just want to see a compelling, interesting story set in this universe. And I'm on board with that. And I think it would be kind of interesting and cool.
I agree.
I will have to see. One thing I was going to say earlier, it doesn't feel like Star Wars currently has a Kevin Feige character who is kind of an all-seeing overlord controlling everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm going to lean on saying it's a good thing because it allows the films to each have their own voice. But on the flip side, you have instances, as we're seeing here, where they might not necessarily connect together as well as they might do otherwise. It doesn't feel like there's a big... It doesn't feel like somewhere in Lucasfilm there is a big wall with the next 20 years of Star Wars films plotted out, like they do at the Marvel thing. I'm on board with that. Like I said, I'd like to be able to just sit down and consume 2 hours of entertainment without needing a doctoral thesis.
Yeah, tell good stories.
Yeah, that's all I want. I just want to tell good stories. And for what it's worth, I think this told a good story.
I agree.
It's a small story in the grand scheme of things. It only takes place over, I don't know, a day. And people might have issue with that, but I mean, I'm okay.
I didn't even think about that. That's absolutely true. I did not even give that a thought. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think we've got time jumps between what's going on with Rey and Luke and with fleet evacuation and everything. But at the same time, that's nothing new because we've seen that, again, back in the original trilogy with Empire. Someone worked out that Luke spent months on Dagobah training to be a Jedi, and it took the Falcon a long time to get to Bespin after it escaped from the Star Destroyer because it had no hyperspace. There was time dilation and stuff going on there. These films, by and large, are just not particularly good at conveying the passage of time. But, short of, some Indiana Jones style, show me a map and a red line connecting dots, or, a title card appears going, sometime later, it's just hard to do that.
Yeah.
But you know what? It should have some sort of Rocky montage, perhaps. That'd be cool. But still, I'm kind of by and large okay with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's aside from that, I feel this told a interesting, compelling story. Like yourself, I think the high points are up there with the highest points in Star Wars. I don't think the low points came anywhere near to the dross we got in the prequels.
No.
There was only one puppet moment, which was, first part of Return of the Jedi, eye-rollingly bad. That would be the one of the Canto Bight patrons screaming as the horse thingies ran through. And I liked the sense of a new leaf, a new start, cleaning house, whatever you want to say. I liked that. I am excited. I mean, at the end of the day, I have no idea where it's going to go next, and that is exciting for me. So yeah, there you go.
All right.
Should we put a bow on this thing there?
I think we should. I think that's a perfect end point.
We've been pretty comprehensive.
There's a small child right now with a broom who's just turned his decoder ring and is showing it to us. And the future belongs to him, not to you. No.
damn straight. At the end of the day, these ain't your granddaddy's Star Wars films. So, do you have anything to plug? Do you have any? Where can people find you?
Sadly, I have nothing to plug at the moment. We are the Question podcast is still on permanent hiatus.
The Question podcast. Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
I said earlier, we're still on the island, and maybe eventually someone will bring us a microphone and present it to us, and
you can throw it over your shoulder,
so I can throw exactly. But I would like to come back to podcasting. This has been, and thank you for this opportunity. This has been a lot of fun. When you messaged me earlier today and asked if I want to do this, I was like, yes, absolutely.
God, yes. Get me off this island.
And so in lieu of a plug, I will put myself out there for anyone doing a podcast. If you need a guest, I'm open. I'm free. Well, I shouldn't say I'm free because, financially free, but my time may be, depending on where you are in the world, I may not be available, but I will try to make myself available.
Excellent. And can they find you on Twitter? Do you still do the tweetings?
I do a lot of tweeting. A lot of it is rage tweeting. A lot of it is directed at the President of the United States. I'm sure I'm on a watch list by now. But I think that people in the NSA support me. I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I'm still on Twitter, Jersey2Bronx, or at Jersey2Bronx, I should say. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool.
That's my life now.
There you go. Well, at present, much like I've joined Sean on the island presently, I'm currently not anywhere because not Spacedock Jury is still not there. They'll do something at some point when I figured out a name and what I want it to be. Something will be back, possibly, maybe. Band of Brothers podcast is finished now, but we have plans for something in the new year. The Grand Prix podcast is over with at the minute until the new season, so that's not there. But when I will be back, most of my stuff will be over at rogue2media.com with Elton McManus. I'll do the obligatory plug as well for all the stuff Elton does with Shonky Lab, our good dear friend Lee Medcalf, and everyone over at the Black Dog podcast. Absolutely worth a listen to. I dare say there might be some comment about the new Star Wars film on this week's episode, so you might want to buckle in and go and enjoy that. There's Jim Moon with Hypnagoria, and you can go and find him out there at hypnagoria.com, I believe, and give him a listen. literally fantastic podcasts. All of them are amazing. My only complaint is, where's the rest of the Judge Dredd stuff, damn it? Get back to it, Jim. Shakes fist impotently. And of course, my other former co-host from Not Spacedock Jury, Pete Organ, is still out there. The broadcast has a new home now. I believe it is at broadcast.libsyn.com. He's also back on YouTube doing Toy Joys. So, yes, at your own peril, go forth and check those out. But as always, it's a great podcast with him and Anne-Marie. They're currently doing Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 6, I think. So, yes, go give them a listen and a watch and a like, and, support all those. Support your podcasting family and, give it a listen. And you can find me on Twitter at Andy3E, where I mostly just... I don't rage tweet at anyone. I just post pictures of me in proton packs because I can. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sean. It's been a delight.
Thank you.
And yes,
it has been wonderful.
Yes, and as Sean said, we will now crowd into the Millennium Falcon and pop off down the shops. So until next time, tatty bye.
Bye.